Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a really core piece of the modern tech stack, container orchestration on AWS. Look, if you've ever deployed an application, you know there's both magic and, let's be honest, complete madness that comes with it. So we're going to decode two of AWS's most powerful services for taming that madness, ECS and EKS.
Okay, so here's our roadmap. First, we've got to set the stage and understand why containers were such a complete game changer in the first place. Then, we'll dive into Amazon's two big approaches, ECS, which is their native homegrown solution, and EKS, the one that runs on the power of Kubernetes. And finally, the most important part, we'll give you the mental toolkit you need to choose the right one for your stack.
All right, so before we even get into talking about managing, hundreds or thousands of containers, we have to talk about the fundamental, hair-pulling problem they were created to solve. It's a story that starts on a single developer's laptop and ends up running a massive global application.
Ah, yes, the 6 words that have caused more pain and late nights for developers than probably anything else in history. It's the classic headache, right? Your code runs beautifully, flawlessly on your machine, but the second you push it to a production server, it just explodes. You've got missing libraries, tiny differences in dependency versions, different OS patches, you name it, it all just conspires to bring your beautiful application crashing down.
In the solution to all that chaos, the container. It is just an elegant idea. It's a self-contained, sealed box that holds not just your code, but everything it needs to run. The runtime, system tools, libraries, the whole shebang. Because it's all packaged together, the container creates this perfectly consistent, isolated little bubble that works the same no matter where you put it. That whole "it works on my machine" problem, gone. Just like that.
The absolute best way to think about this is the real-world shipping container. Seriously, before those existed, loading a ship was a total nightmare of weirdly shaped boxes, barrels, and crates. But the standardized container, it changed global logistics forever, because suddenly any crane, any truck, any ship could handle it, no questions asked. Well, your software container does the exact same thing for your code. It lets any server that can run containers run your application, no modifications needed.
And this is where things get really interesting. Running one container? Super simple. But modern apps aren't just one container, are they? No way. There are a whole fleet of microservices, and you might need to scale them up to thousands of instances running on tons of different servers. So how do you manage all that? How do you handle the networking between them, roll out updates without downtime, or automatically replace one if it fails? You need a logistics system for your code. You need a container orchestrator.
Okay, so let's check out our first solution and see how AWS approaches this whole orchestration challenge. This is their homegrown, built-from-the-ground-up answer, the Elastic Container Service, or as everyone calls it, ECS.
So ECS is what happens when a massive cloud provider with this huge ecosystem decides to build an orchestrator from scratch. It is designed to feel like a completely natural part of AWS. It's not trying to work on every cloud out there. Its whole purpose is to be the smoothest, most integrated way to run containers specifically on AWS. It is, as we say, very AWS opinionated, and that's actually its biggest strength.
So what does this actually mean for you? Well, that philosophy of being AWS opinionated shows up right here. Simplicity is a huge deal. The control plane, that's kind of the brain of the whole system that schedules all your containers, is completely managed by AWS. You don't even have to think about it. And the integration is just incredibly tight. For example, you can assign security rules directly to a single container, not just the whole server it's on. Or you can have it automatically connect to a load balancer without any manual fuss. If your team is already living and breathing AWS, ECS just melts away a ton of the operational headaches.
But AWS gets it. They know that not everyone wants a solution that only works inside their walls. The tech industry has already kind of picked a winner in this space. So, AWS offers another path, one that embraces the undisputed open-source king of orchestration, Kubernetes.
And that brings us to Amazon EKS, the Elastic Kubernetes Service. Now, this isn't an orchestrator that AWS built. It's AWS's managed service for running Kubernetes itself. And why they do that? Because the entire industry demanded it. AWS takes on the incredibly complicated job of setting up and maintaining the Kubernetes control plane for you, so you can just focus on deploying your apps using the standard Kubernetes tools and APIs that you would use absolutely anywhere else.
The whole story with EKS boils down to two things: power and portability. When you use EKS, you're not just getting a service, you're tapping into a massive global community.
It's insanely configurable, which is great, but that power definitely comes with a steeper learning curve. But here's the critical part. The skills you learn with EKS are totally portable. An engineer who knows EKS is just as valuable at Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure or working on a company's own on-prem servers.
Okay, so we've got two absolutely fantastic options on the table. One is built for this deep, simple integration right inside AWS. The other is built for open source power and go-anywhere portability. So, how in the world do you decide?
Let's really put them side by side. The philosophy is the biggest difference, right? AWS native and simple versus open source and flexible. The learning curve for ECS is way lower because AWS made a lot of the tough choices for you. EKS makes you learn Kubernetes concepts, but it pays you back with total control and access to that huge cloud-agnostic ecosystem. Think about it. With EKS, you can easily plug in thousands of open-source tools like Prometheus for monitoring or Istio for a service mesh, because the whole world is building for Kubernetes. And that portability question is massive. Are you building just for AWS forever, or do you need a multi-cloud strategy down the road?
Let's just boil this down to its absolute essence, because it really is a direct trade-off. You should choose ECS if your main goal is getting to production fast and having operational simplicity inside the AWS world. It's powerful, and it's absolutely the path of least resistance. But you should choose EKS if your strategy depends on using that wider Kubernetes community, if you're hiring people specifically for Kubernetes skills, or if you need to know for sure that your application stack can run anywhere, not just on AWS.
And that's really the question I want to leave you with. There is no single best answer here, not at all. The right choice depends completely on your team, your project, and your long-term vision. Do you optimize for speed and simplicity inside one ecosystem, or do you invest in the power and portability of an industry standard? The answer to that is going to define your entire cloud-native journey.